Yeah, look, this is just going to be a quick video going over one of these redesigns I done the other day. This is a gun from Apex Legends. So here's the design. Here's the original. Cool. Right, let's just get right into it then. Right, so we've got a bunch of layers here. This is the attack. Well, I'll show you this one first. This is the tonal kind of thing. Nothing crazy at all. Then we've got the attack here. And then we've got this one. This is a mechon, like, it's supposed to be like the first shot and the last shot of the burst. I think it sounds quite cool. Then this thing. Just some really high clicky stuff. I don't know if I'm keen on it. I think it's maybe a little bit too high-endy. Maybe I'll bring that down a touch. And then we've got the tail. This thing should probably be in a different group, but I think that's okay. I think it sounds okay just for a quick redesign. Then we've got this stuff here. Which is, it says sub-sweetener, but I guess it's more like a tonal lasery thing. With a bit of a punch to it. And then we've got this. Which is just lasers and stuff. And then we've got this thing here. Cool. So, right, where do we start with this then? So what I always do first is put these markers down. So on each of the shots, I'll just put the marker. Do that for the whole group. It can take quite a while, but it's worth doing it. And then I'll show you this thing you can do once that's set up, right? So we'll duplicate this. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to drag this out just so we've got loads of variations here. Bring this down to here. We probably need like 5. Cool. So then I can just highlight this thing, as long as I highlight the markers. Then I've got a key command, it's just 9 on the keyboard. Then it'll automatically strip the silence basically. And then for some reason it doesn't work, so I need to hit 9 again. And then it just automatically lines these up. You might need to do some manual adjustments here if it doesn't trim the silence properly. You can go into the settings here and just make sure it does it correct. You can probably just fiddle about with this until it works, because you can see it's leaving too much at the start. So maybe that's one of these things. I don't know. But yeah, mess about with that. So this is just like a quick way of actually syncing all these things up. And this won't sound good, but it does sync up. So you got that. So I normally do that with every gunshot. It's the quickest way that I've found to sync everything up properly. And that way, normally when I do one of these designs on an actual project, I'll do all the variations necessary and then send that over for review. Just because if it gets approved, you've got everything good to go and it just needs to go in game and it's finished. So in terms of processing, I think there's a little bit going on here. On these first 2 groups, there's nothing. Then on this high group here, I'm using just elevate. And then this thing here, just on a preset, it sounds quite good. So this just adds a little bit of a punch to the sound, basically. So that's with and without. Quite subtle. But I think it sounds quite nice. And then we've got the tail, nothing going on with the tail. Then this thing here, nothing. I did have the vocoder and black holder, but they're not enabled, so they're not doing anything. And then on the laser, I guess I just tried a bunch of ideas out. But manipulator, well, let's do it before and after. So here's with the effects and without. Yeah, so it's just this thing on a preset, just bring it down an octave. Then we've got transmod just to boost the transient a little bit. You could use a different transient shaper, it doesn't really matter. Then we've got this thing here, set dry wet to 50. Yep, sounds quite good. With and without that. So nothing crazy. Then we've got this thing here. I'll just be on a preset, probably. And that just adds a little bit of distortion. Then a bit of reverb, which I don't normally add to stuff. But I thought, yeah, sounds quite good. Let's just leave it. And then we've got this last layer here, which again has like a little boost in the high end, which I don't like. I'm actually going to cut. So you'll notice we've got track spacer on like every single group here, and this is because just the template, the way the template works. So I've got this group here, and this gets sent to all these other groups. Oops. So the input is on 3 and 4. You can see it here. Oh, it's not set up. I just changed this a minute ago. Yeah, so that goes to 3 and 4. So this side chains to this stuff, which isn't doing much at the moment. I did have plans of like putting a sub layer on this, on the sidechain, but yeah, it sounds good as it is. So in terms of the processing, you'll notice there's nothing really on the tracks themselves. It's just an EQ and there's nothing going on with that. So everything's done in this project here. So this is all Boom Library content. Nothing crazy going on really. We've got this. So here's the assets here. And this is the chain. So I'll show you with and without. So without, then with. And basically I just keep the same effects on and just, tweak some of the parameters depending on the take. So that one sounds quite good, but maybe I want less of this. Maybe I want more of the transient shaping stuff going on. This is an OTT thing I was working on a while ago. So with this, oh, it's the filter. We could add this audio follower thing as well. So if we enable this, this is getting sent to the cutoff here. So bring the gain down. Like that could be interesting. Not for this thing, but that's with all this dynamic stuff. And then without. Yeah, so it's going through some EQ in this shaper thing, which sounds quite good. But yeah, I didn't use that for a lot of it. Let's hear it on a different take. With. Without. Yeah, so that's something worth looking into. But I'm going to bypass this for now. Then it's just Oxford Inflator adding a little bit of distortion, or well, saturation. Then we've got this overstare thing. I'll take a second to open up. Without that, so it's hardly doing anything. I quite like the actual sound of the asset themselves, so it's just about making it feel a little bit more punchy. And I think you get that mainly from transmod, probably Elevate as well, and this thing here. So we might want to boost this. Oh, that was loud. But the general idea is to try and get some things that work with each other. So you've got like, there's a few separate things you'll need. So you need like a punchy layer, then like a body layer. I like to have a layer that's a little bit distorted. So probably like this one here. Oh, no. This one, it's a little bit gritty. I quite like it. And then we've got... So you can see it's not doing much, but when you combine all these things, it does sound quite good. One thing I wanted to try actually is let's use this one here. I got this new plugin the other day called Unveil. This is just like a very basic preset that I made. So you could do that. So another thing is you've got this transgressor here. If you want to really emphasize the transients, you could do this. which it won't sound good by itself. This will never be usable like this. Well, that's not too bad. But the idea is that it's going to work with the other layers in the design. So, and it's a bit of trial and error. It does take some time to get it sounding good. That's why it's important to have the markers set up, so you can really quickly swap stuff out. So then we got this. Maybe some layers you'll want to boost the bass a little bit. Turn these things up a bit. Or use this unveil thing. I like these really distorted things. Yeah, I think that sounds cool. Maybe we could process this even further. Maybe if we use something like R-Bass. So it's nice to have like a mix of like these clean recordings, like this stuff, and the really distorted stuff, like this. So when I was happy with this stuff that I processed, I've got a keyboard command, so I just need to loop this section here, just select this, then I'll just hit 1 on the keyboard, and that'll basically just instantly bounce this down, like so. Cool, so we've got that export, and then we copy this and bring this into the main session here. The other way to do this is just use something like Sound Miner, where it kind of does this stuff automatically. And then you just need to do this thing where you select the region, you hit 9 on the keyboard, split that's fine. Hit 9 again. Then it kind of places them in the right place. And that's the quickest way of doing it that I've found. So basically when I start these designs, I'll normally go through and make a whole library of this kind of stuff. You know, some of it will just not be usable at all. But, you know, it's good to have this stuff just for the future, basically, so it's ready to go. Yeah, you might want to pitch that down a little bit. And if you wanted, you could process this even further. I'm quite liking this unveil thing. Yeah, that's interesting. Worth trying. Right, so back here. So once we've layered this all up, one of the most important things is the actual tail of the sound. That can really make the difference between, you know, the design not sounding that good and it sounding natural and fitting the environment. So do spend some time processing like weapon tails and things like that because they're very important. So all this stuff's Boom Library except from the laser stuff, which is what I made before. But you don't really need it for this design. There's nothing lasery about this. I just thought it sounded quite cool. So we could just mute these. You know, and that's fine. You got a little bit from, I think, this group here. But it's subtle enough, so it kind of works. Then once I'm happy with it, I'll normally just play about with this thing here, which is the whole speed of the project. Then have a listen to that, you know, and decide if any of it's worth exporting separately. So that's the basic design. Then we've got the, on the mixer here, well, nothing actually, it's just the limiter. All the tracks are at -10, so I just bumped this up by 10. And then we've got the pre-master, which uses the overstayer again, which isn't really doing much. I'll bypass that. Then with it. Not much. And then we've got this distressor thing, which is quite good. So without. And with. Yeah, I just think it sounds quite nice. Then on the master, nothing, just a limiter. So that's pretty much my approach for weapon sound design. So get the layers in a separate project, process them, export them to your own library here, and then you can just drag them in. Then you're going to want to use the command. Let me find it for you. Um, so it's this one here, gun setup. Oh, how do I edit this? Edit. Which is dynamic split, which you can probably do without that. If you want to do the dynamic split, you just need to right click, item process, and dynamic split. And then it is align selected items to markers, then explode them to tracks below. But that's the thing that makes them go on a separate track. And yeah, that's basically what I do. If you want to do the yeah, if you want to export it or like bounce it down with the effects, it's this render tracks to stereo stem. Yeah, so that's that. Hope it was useful. Cheers.